괜찮은 것 같아요. And today's topic is quick to listen and slow to speak. Um, are you more of a talking type of person or a listening type of person? Do you prefer talking or do you prefer listening? If you are more of a talking type of person, can you kind of quietly raise your hand? 우리 어른들도 말씀하시는 게 듣는 것보다 더 좋으신 분 한번 손 들어 보실래요? Yeah, I see some people. Okay, put your hands down. And what about those people who feel more comfortable listening rather than talking? Listening 더 편하신 분. 네, 아마 조금 listening이 편하신 분들이 조금 더 많으신 것 같아요. I know I tend to talk a lot when I do my sermons. I'm always trying to cut it short, but almost every week I fail. But rather than your perception, I actually am much more comfortable by listening rather than talking. In general, I think people enjoy talking more than listening, right? If you talk, then time goes pretty fast. But if you have to listen to someone, like you are doing right now, you're just wondering when is he going to stop talking, right? Time tends to go a little slowly. Out of all this time, I have never met a person who told me, "Oh, your sermon's too short." I have never met a person who said that, and most people say, "Oh, your sermon's okay, but it's a bit long, right?" And this one time, I was having a meeting with about 7 to 8 people, and this person who had the highest rank, he started to talk, and he continued nonstop for about 2 hours. The time was getting late into the night. Some people were literally falling asleep. Some others were like getting up and stretching themselves, not to fall asleep. And this other guy literally started to slap his face in order not to fall asleep. But guess what the guy who was speaking continued to do? It was as if he was blind. It was as if his ears were closed and he just kept on talking and talking. He was completely unaware of people's reactions around him and spoke for 2 hours straight. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, I don't want to become that kind of person. I want to know when to speak and when to stop speaking and also when to listen. Here's what James chapter 1 verse 19 tells us about listening and speaking. Let's read it together in one voice. Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters, you must all be quick to listen and slow to speak. 우리 한국말로도 같이 읽어볼게요. 사랑하는 형제 여러분, 다른 사람의 말은 빨리 듣고 자신의 말은 천천히 하십시오. This verse tells us that we must be quick to listen and slow to speak, but we human beings have a tendency to be the opposite. We tend to be slow to listen and quick to speak. When you listen to people, there is this part of us that does not want to listen to other people speaking, and as soon as we think of something, we want to say it. And oftentimes, I know this is a really bad habit, and every time I do it, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't do it. But I have a habit of interrupting other people when they speak, because whenever I think of something, I tend to just say it right away. But this verse is telling us to be quick to listen, but when you're about to speak, be slow to speak. Have you ever thought about why we have one mouth and 2 ears? It's my own speculation, but I think that God gave us one mouth and 2 ears so that we can listen twice as much and twice as harder. Probably because listening is more important than speaking, and we can be quick to listen because we have 2 ears and because we have one mouth so that we can be slow to speak. When I have meals with other people, for example, past week I had lunch with a couple people, and usually when you have lunch with someone else, you're not only there to eat, but you're there to have a conversation, to talk to people and to listen to other people and to kind of have the relationship, right? And do you know what I noticed as I'm eating and speaking at the same time? It's really uncomfortable, right? 말을 해야 되는 타이밍인데 sometimes my mouth is full and I can't talk, and I'm so like worried about spitting out food, and eating and talking at the same time was just really uncomfortable. And I started to imagine, what if God gave us two mouths so that we can eat with one mouth and we can speak with the other mouth? We're gonna look a little weird with two mouths, but I thought, oh, that sounds like a good idea to me. However, if that were to happen to us, what would happen to all of us? We would eat and talk at the same time, and no one's gonna stop talking, right? There's probably a reason why God made speaking a little uncomfortable. And on Sundays, Sundays, especially for me, I talk a lot and I use a lot of words. And even before the service starts, we sing praise songs. And by the time the Sunday worship's over, my voice is just completely gone. And when I go home, I don't want to talk to anyone. But my family is waiting for me at home, just holding on to all of their words to speak all of a sudden when I get home. And I'm just like, can I take a little break? And literally, my voice hurts. 제가 이렇게 성대가 별로 좋지 않아서 이렇게 찬양하고 말을 많이 하면 지금도 목이 이렇게 조금 아파요. And I think there's probably a reason why that when we listen for many hours, doesn't really hurt our ears unless you hear really loud sound level. But when we speak for many hours, our voice, our throat literally hurts, and there is probably a reason for that. And Proverbs 18:21 tells this about the power of what we speak. 우리 다 같이 읽어볼까요? The tongue can bring death or life. Those who love to talk will reap the consequences. 죽고 사는 것은 혀의 힘에 달렸나니 혀를 쓰기 좋아하는 자는 혀의 열매를 먹으리라. The tongue can bring death or life. Sometimes we meet people who tends to exaggerate things, right? And I don't like it when people exaggerate. And this verse is not exaggerating. The tongue can literally, it can bring death or it can bring life. When a person is hurt by the words spoken by other people, how long does it last? It can last a lifetime. And you can completely debilitate a person based on what you speak and based on what that other person speaks. Our words are powerful. It's got so much power to engrave the words you speak into the tablet of other person's heart, and we should be really, really careful when we speak, and that's why the Bible tells us to be slow to speak. On the other hand, your words also have the power to save a person's life. When the right words are spoken at the right time to the right person, it can really help people to come out of their hard time, to really encourage people. And even your words, think about that. Your words, when used by God, have the power and the ability to bring salvation to a person's life. Think about that. Sometimes, so we decide, okay, so I'm going to speak only good words and positive words, and I'm going to be slow to speak, and I'm not going to hurt any other people. And I've made that, thought, I've made that decision many, many times, but I still fail. It's not really a matter of making a decision. Why is that? Because words come from the heart. It's not only moving your mouth and making the sound with your words, but really, since the words come from the heart, the key to saying the right words at the right time according to the way that God wants for us is really cultivating our heart with faith, with positivity, and with the love, and with encouraging other people. And it's a matter of transforming our heart, actually. So I am going to give you guys a homework, and I'm going to do this homework too. Let's do this homework together. I want us to spend 10 minutes. To the adults later, I'm going to elongate their time a little bit. But for you guys, spend 10 minutes listening and talking with God. That is the way that we cultivate our hearts with the language of God. If we do not listen to God, if we do not speak with God, there is no way that we can listen and speak the way that God wants us to do. Yes, we attend church, Sunday service, and we do Bible study and we sing worship songs, but really our relationship, our personal relationship with God gets molded and formed and shaped by the personal time that we spend with God, listening and talking to a person. What if I come to you? What if I invite you for lunch? And I'm going like, hey, let's have lunch. And we meet at Chipotle. We order a bowl of Chipotle. And we're literally just eating, not talking, not listening to anyone. How would you feel about me if I did that to you? You're going to be like, oh, that pastor's got a problem, right? But oftentimes, that's what we do with God. We come to service. We do all the humanly things that we do, but we don't listen to God. We don't talk to God. And God says, but I want to spend time with you. I want to speak to you, and I want to have you listen my words, and I want to listen to your heart. So today, how many minutes a day? 10 minutes a day. Let's spend listening and talking with God.